Right, that's where we're going to start this. Let's get going, because at the moment, your Instagram is making me sad. It is not cheering me up. I look at your Instagram and I think she's got heavy snow in Aviemore, and I've got absolutely nothing down here in East Lothian.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm not sorry.
You live in not just my, but probably my family's favourite place, you know.
Oh, really? Yeah,
Oh,
well,
we
of
love
course,
it.
because you guys were up here just not too long ago, actually.
We were at Feshy Bridge, just it backs onto Laganlia, the adventure place,
Yeah,
the adventure camp.
beautiful.
And we just love it. It is so good.
Yeah.
And it's just the access to Lochmorlick and Aviemore, just everything. We just love it up there.
It is. It's lovely. And so Jessica and I moved up here. So Jessica, my daughter, who's 10, I know that you know that, but just for anyone that doesn't know, I've got a wee girl, Jessica, and we moved up here to move in with my now fiance Ollie. And he's lived up here. Well, he's from Weymouth, but he moved up here when he got a job in Glenmore Lodge when he had just finished uni, and he just never left. He just absolutely fell in love with the place, and you can see why. So we've always come up here with family. You know, it's somewhere coming from like a family where we went camping and hiking most weekends and stuff. So we were always up this way.
Yeah.
But it's funny to think back then, you know, if I'd known like in 20 years time, 30 years time or whatever, that I was actually going to live there, I would have been like, no. But yeah, we've been here for about 7 months now. And it's just, it's lovely, but it's strange because I expected to come up here and, you know, completely settle in really quickly, and that was it. And it took me a wee while. And it's also, what's bizarre is like there's so much to do, but I still need to get around to it, if that makes sense, because I've always come up here for weekends or for adventures or whatever for that purpose. But this is my home now as well. So it's kind of finding that balance.
Well, it's the same here. I've got people in Edinburgh that have never been to Edinburgh Castle. They've never been up Arthur's Seat. When it's your town, you don't tend to be the tourist that often, do you? So
I know exactly.
But tell me, that journey obviously is a complete shift. It's a place that Abby and we've never thought of moving and relocating north like that. But what's it been like as you sort of everything, the whole world's changed? You know, your whole lifestyle's changed. How's that been to adapting to the pace up there?
I will be completely honest with you. It's been good and not so good in ways as well, which again, it just completely threw me. So I think for me and for Ollie, the most important thing, well, was certainly to get Jessica in and get her settled. We wanted to make sure that she was going to be okay here. And one of the reasons for moving up here is that there's a lovely little primary school, Alvey Primary, that, you know, that she goes to. And, yeah, I mean, she's absolutely thriving. But of course, because we were down in the Central Belt, she was in like a really big primary school, which was also brilliant. She had her friends there, but even she wanted to move up here because obviously there was a lot of like weekend visits and different things like that first. And, you know, ever since Jessica's been here, she's just thriving. God, it looks like I've stood her in manure because she's just taken a shoot up. And well, that was the other reason as well. It's like, what a place for a kid to grow up. I mean, all the fresh air, all the freedom. We've got so much going on around about here. And even the school, although it's tiny, there's so much outdoor space for them as well. And we found that even though we were quite outdoorsy as a family, since coming here, it's just, you know, like tonight when Jessica came in from school, she started taking ski lessons down at Lochhinch, and it was cancelled tonight, unfortunately. So we just like pulled on our boots and just went and kicked them out in the snow and just had like a great time outside and things and just totally made the most of the outside. We just, I think when you open your curtains and you see the mountains and you see the loch and you see that, you just want to get outside. But no, coming back to your question, Jessica settled in really quickly, which was just wonderful. But I think in that process somewhere I kind of forgot about myself, and I forgot that sometimes I find change difficult. And I was like, what's going on here? Like, I'm in this absolutely amazing place, you know, in this like wonderful relationship. Jessica's happy, I'm happy, but I just can't settle in. I just don't know why. Like, I couldn't. But it just takes time. It just takes time. And I think once Jessica had settled in, and it's only been the last couple of months actually, where it started feeling a wee bit more like home. But then I had to remind myself that when I moved into the house that Jessica and I moved into when she was 3, I was absolutely desperate to move in there. But it took me a good kind of 9 months to a year for it to feel like my home.
Yeah.
But so there's that side of it. But then, of course, there's the other side of it where we can just, we can be up at the Cairngorms car park within half an hour. And, we can just like jump in the car and be in like Glencoe quite quickly. And we can leave from the house and go up Suey Hill, which is just out the back. We can, like the other morning, I got up and went.
I saw it. You're paddleboarding at sunrise on Loch Morlich. And I was like, oh, God, I can't complain. We're spoilt with sunrises and sunsets here in East Lothian. We've got it real nice, but I just have a soft spot for where you are. We just have it up there.
I think my light's gone funny there. Well, do you know, it's what you were saying there about, can you still see me okay? It's really dark in this room. That's fine. Good stuff. Yeah, so what you were saying there about being jealous about mine, I think it's like, what you don't have, because I've got a massive soft spot, as you know, for East Lothian, in particular North Berwick. So when I see you and Abs and the kids going for your cliff jumps, your swims, I'm just like, oh my God, I missed the beach. I really missed the beach, because of course before we were like a half-hour drive from the beach, and now obviously we're like 3 hours. Well, so I do miss that.
I class Loch Morlich as a beach.
Yeah, that's true.
I do. That's my beach in the Highlands. That's where we love to go there and go for a cold dunk. But talk me through that morning, that sunrise morning the other day. It looked awesome.
Sure. I mean, it was absolutely incredible. And, the Highlands do sunrises really well, I have to say.
Yeah.
But I think it's because where I lived before was so built up that when I opened the curtains, I saw the sky.
Yeah.
But I didn't see, you could maybe see like the pink hues way in the distance through the trees somewhere above the houses. And it was beautiful. But here, I opened my curtains and the mountains are in front of me and the sunrise is just absolutely incredible. But yeah, so it was, so I had always said that when, I wanted to get settled in, I wanted to get established first. And then I wanted to start looking at kind of maybe clubs and things to kind of settle in, make new friends up here and new connections. And I went on, I think it was through Facebook, how like Big Brother is watching, and I think adverts were coming up for paddleboarding, and it was Strathspey Sup it was, and it's a girl, Lorraine, and she organises paddleboard socials, as well as doing various different courses and things like that. So I joined the Facebook page, and she says that they often do ones at Loch Inch, which is, basically where we are. But that particular morning, she had been planning for Loch Morlich in the sunrise, and I thought, do you know what, I'm going to do it. And see, at the weekends, if I'm adventuring, I wouldn't say delighted to get up at stupid o'clock, but I'm happy to get up at stupid o'clock because I know, it's like go time. Yeah. You're dying to get outside, but Monday to Friday, nah. But that day was different, and I was really excited. It was Monday morning, so I got all my things ready the night before, as you do. I get really excited about all that bit, getting your kit ready. Got it all in the car. So first thing in the dark, I left in the car, and we met just at the car park at Loch Morlich. And of course, driving up there, I had the music on because I was absolutely buzzing, but I was a bit nervous as well. Do you know what it's like? I mean, I love meeting new people, and I'm a really sociable person. But I still get really nervous when going into new situations and things. But as with anything, I should learn my lesson by now that, when you love something that somebody else loves, you've got an instant connection with them because you're all there to do the same thing and you all feel that passion. So we got the boards out in the water, and we didn't know if we'd get a sunrise or not because obviously with the storm at the weekend.
Yeah.
And yeah, we got on the water and the sky just it would just set alight. It was just beautiful across the Cairngorms and things, and it was like, it was proper beautiful. It was absolutely gorgeous with the snow and things too. So yeah, but that was my first winter paddle as well. I've never been out in the winter, so that was interesting. There was no ice in the loch, but it was freezing, but it was good. Lorraine kept me right on what to wear to keep warm and things, which was super. And I didn't know if I'd attempt to actually stand because I really didn't fancy going in the water, but I did. I was brave. I was like, I think it was the endorphins that were pumping through from all the beautiful scenery.
You didn't end up in the lake then, the loch?
No, don't shame me. I can see it in your face. You're like, Lorna, get in the water.
You didn't end up. No, it's well, that's what Aviemoore's got, isn't it? It's just got from the paddleboarding to the mountains to the Highland Wildlife Park. You must have been there. You must have been there a few times, have you?
Well, it's because we were Pincraig, it's literally like 2 miles down the road.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's and the wee polar bear, I think the baby polar bear opened its eyes yesterday or something. So yeah. No, it is. I mean, it's a beautiful, I say it's a beautiful place for Jessica to grow up, but you know, it's a beautiful place to live. I feel very lucky.
You mentioned Ollie, and he's swept you off your feet, taking you to Aviemore. But as I've got to research my guests when I do a podcast, the 13th of July, 2021. Now that adventure and the proposal, how did that go down?
Oh, I'm like, what happened?
I know, I'm looking at your face going, she's no idea what I'm talking about.
I'm like, what adventure is going Hope he doesn't watch this. Oh my God, I'm actually blushing. That was totally unexpected. I mean, to be honest, we had talked about it. Like when you know, and we knew that we wanted to kind of be together and things. It just felt really right and things, which was great. Jessica, she was happy and things, and we had talked about it, but I didn't expect it to happen then. Not that I expected to win, but in my head I thought, right, well, we'll probably, because we hadn't moved to the Highlands by this point, although we had been planning to in the summer. So I thought, we'll wait until probably we're in and all settled down and everything like that, and it might happen or that. So but funny story about that. Well, it happened on the Isle of Harris. And it was Harris is just stunning. I mean, you see photos, but it's not until you experience it yourself. And I did go swimming. I went swimming on the first day, which I was really, really pleased about. But we got off the ferry in Harris, and it was the south of Harris that was cycle grounds. So it was down the kind of coast, well, the beautiful beaches side on the first day, and then we camped out that night. And then back around the other side, I think it's like the Golden Roads on the other side, which is more rugged and looking out onto the sea that way. And it was absolutely beautiful. But there's a bit of a story about it as well, because I think he had planned to propose on the first night on the beautiful beach, but I was really pissed off at him because he hadn't brought enough water, because he was in charge of water, and we only had literally like our water bottles that we had put in our bikes, because we didn't have. I had the panniers over the back of mine. He had his road bike, and we had to stop halfway because my chain broke because I hadn't changed my gear properly, going up a hill and it snapped. That's happened a few times to me. I happened on the way to Bothy actually one time when I was with Iona Adventuring. It snapped, and I ended up having to just like push my bike the whole way. So I was raging when I got to there. So I must have been raging this day as well. So we got to the beach, and he's like, I don't know how we're going to cook dinner. I'm like, how? He's like, we don't have any water. I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, I've forgot to bring the water. And I was like,
You had one job. You had one job.
One job.
Hey, no, I'm not going on your side here. I've forgotten a million things on a million adventures, so I'm with Ollie on this one. How did you recover there? How did you recover?
Well, what we did was it was fine, and I was like, oh, whatever, let's just get the tent set up. And then when you're in where the scenery is that beautiful, we went in for the swim, we went for a walk along the beach, had a laugh, had a giggle. It was all really good fun and whatever. But the next day I woke up and I'm like, how am I gonna, because we didn't know where the nearest shop was. We were hoping one at the south of the island, very south, would be open. But of course, Harris, there's like hardly any shops on it. I'm like, what are we gonna do? he had put out the tarp during the night because we put the tarp over the bikes. And there was like a dip in it, and the rainwater and the condensation had like put the water in it. He's like, there's your water there. That's what you got to drink. And he's like, but you're going to have to get down and actually soak it out the tarp because there's no way of like getting it in your bottle. And I did it. I didn't need to do that apparently. And he's standing in the background, absolutely killing himself laughing while I'm down like soaking the water from the tarp. I'm like, oh, what an idiot. Anyway, the next night he proposed, which was really nice. I didn't expect it at all, like I said. And we got set up the tent for the second night. And sat on a rock and watched the sunset, and yeah, he put his arm around me and he was like that. So, do you want to get married? I was like, what? He's like, do you want to get married? And I was like, well, actually, are you asking me? And he's like, yeah, I'm asking you. So we just talked about a few things and that, and he had brought the ring with him. So he'd carried that. That's probably why he didn't have room for water. And then I forgave him for the water because I thought he'd probably just a bit flustered.
Think how nervous he's been planning everything, and the last thing he's been thinking about is water. You know,
exactly.
I've been there. Exactly. The last thing you're thinking about is anything but where's the ring? Don't let her.
Well, yeah, and I forgave him because of that, and also because he carried a little bottle of prosecco as well as the ring. So I was like, oh, that's it, you're my guy.
So that's obviously following you for ages now. You've done a lot of bike packing and a lot of adventures like that, but also a bit of van life and things. Have you got a preference? Have you got a preference? Is a night in the van or a night in the tent, or how do you like to sort of split your adventures?
Oh, it's really hard because it's so different, isn't it?
Yeah. I
mean, it's so different. It's handy having the van, I have to say. And it's a really old van, and it's got like we took the van over to Skye. In fact, that was the trip when we went. We took the van to Glencoe, and we had a couple of days in Glencoe, which was absolutely fantastic. And then we took the van over to Skye, and we parked in at Glenbrittle, which again was just, I mean, we're so lucky with the weather. The heavens poured a few times, but then the sun came out again. We got another beautiful sunset. But then that night, like the van, like I say, it's so old. You know when like you pop up the top? So it's an old T4 that we've got, and either side, the midgie net bits at the sides are not midgie proof because all the midgies were just coming in. So we had to end up like taping it up and stuff because you know what the midgies are like in Glenbrittle and Skye. That was an absolute nightmare. So yeah, it's very different. I feel like having the van is like a wee bit of luxury because you get like a proper decent night's sleep. But then for me, the tent is like, that's the adventure. You know, you just feel like you're having a proper adventure when you're out in a tent. I feel anyway. And you know, and I feel like I've progressed with like my adventures in the tent because I used to have, it was, God, how many years ago? Was it maybe about 3 years ago now? With COVID, I just feel like I've lost 2 years of my life. But my very kind of first camping in recent years anyway, since I've like found adventuring again, I had bought this 3-man pop-up tent from like from Decathlon or something to go with Jessica for camping once because she wanted to go for a weekend. And I came up to join. It was my very first kind of time that I had met Iona, and it was with her group. We came on like a camping trip up in Aviemore as well, believe it or not. And we stayed at Glenmore, the campsite there, which was brilliant. But I think it was in the end of October. I'm sure it was the end of October. And what we didn't account for was the amount of snow that was going to fall and the -4 temperatures. And I was freezing. Oh God, like I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to make it till morning. This is awful. They're just going to find me in this tent. It was really bad. And I think it was at that point I was like, right, if I'm going to like do more adventuring, I definitely need to get myself some decent kit. So like a good sleeping bag and a good mat that makes you feel like you're not lying on the ground. And yeah, and also the size of the tent. So this one obviously was a pocket one you could put in the car, but one that you could use for if you were doing like multi-days or that. So yeah, so that's, I feel like I've kind of progressed with my tents.
And have you picked up little hints and tips along the way? Is there certain things now whatever you're doing, you wouldn't leave home without?
Yeah, so I wouldn't, a warm sleeping bag and a really good down jacket. Like, and it's funny because you know what it's like when, you know, when you're an adventurer and when you're a hiker, it's like you start off with stuff that's cheaper, which you absolutely should do. I think you should do. So you get what you need at the start, and it takes you a wee while to work out what you like and what you need. And then you start getting, you know, it's like, well, do I really need to take that full toothbrush? Could I not cut it down to just the top? And start thinking about your weight and, you know, terms like that. But is there something that I wouldn't leave the house without when I'm going camping? My tent, probably. No, but I think, yeah, there's like go-to things. Yeah, my dry bags, actually. And it's not until recent years that I've started using dry bags. They're game changers, absolutely, because I've had a few times where I've been caught out where I've not had like a cover over my bag, and I've not had dry bags in my rucksack as well. And then just like the heavens open and that's you, everything's wet, especially our down jackets. And when it's cold, that's not very nice. Yeah. So yeah.
And as you adventure, obviously you've got Ollie, Jessica, you've been on adventures and walks with friends like Iona that we both know, but you've done a solo camp in the Pentlands. What made you go solo? What was it like, the whole experience for you?
Yeah, so well, this was something I had wanted to do for a while, but I actually didn't feel brave enough to do it, to be honest. And what prompted it was obviously working with Vango. I had said that I wanted to do 6 adventures with Vango. So Vango are supporting me to do 6 adventures. One of them was the descent of the River Spey, staying and camping in the little islands on the way down. So the 3 that I've done is that one. Also the Rumcullen Traverse, which was a multi-day with one of their packs. And then one of them I wanted to put on the list of the 6 was a solo camp. And I thought a few things. I thought, well, actually, I've always wanted to try it. But I thought, well, if I commit to it and if I say I'm going to do it, then I'll do it. And yeah, so when I lived down in Redcalder in West Lothian, the Pentlands were my local playgrounds. And that's where I used to go often. So I thought to myself, right, where am I going to go for a solo camp? I wanted it somewhere, you know, with a good path or somewhere that I knew that I could get a good camping spot. And I thought to myself, you know, at first I was thinking massive mountains away, you know, hundreds and hundreds of miles away up the north of Scotland or whatnot. And I thought, well, do you know what? Why don't I just go to the Pentlands? Because when you're up there, you do feel like you're a million miles away from anything. And, you know, I felt safe there because I knew it and it wasn't far from home. And all these things really appealed to me because I was quite nervous about it. So I packed out all my things, did my flatly like I always do and get all excited about that. And I packed up and off I went, and I arrived at the car park just as it was, not when it was getting dark, but it was kind of later on because I knew that I knew it would probably take about an hour and a half maybe to walk up to, I think it was just past the top of West Kip. So between West Kip and East Kip and the Pentlands, I knew that's where I wanted to camp. So I knew it would take about an hour and a half to get there. So off I went with all my stuff. And again, I must just be really, really lucky with sunsets because I got the most incredible sunset that night. I mean, it was just absolutely stunning. But oh my God, it was so windy. I was like, how am I going to get this tent up? And then I was like, I know I'll get it up, but I hope that nobody passes me because they'll think, what on earth is she doing? Because in order to put it up, I had to like sit in it and then lie on it. Starfish, put the pegs in. It was ridiculous so that it didn't fly away. And yeah, do you know, actually, once I got set up and things and I was looking out and the light was fading and I just felt really relaxed. I just felt really calm. And you know, it wasn't scary. It wasn't scary at all because I thought, you know, what's going to happen? Is a sheep going to attack me? No. you know, and I had my camping stove and things, and I got myself all sorted. And it was, I mean, I didn't sleep an awful lot, you know, because the wind was just so bad. But that was okay. And I wanted to catch the sunrise in the morning. So I got up super early, but it was so cloudy. So I just pulled the sleeping bag back over my head for a wee hour, and then just like did another couple of tops, and then just went back down to the car. So, and you know, I felt really proud of myself for doing that. And it gave me confidence. It did. It gave me a good confidence boost, which is lovely.
How have you enjoyed the growth of your Instagram page, Girl on a Hill? You know, how have you sort of taken to that, and obviously posting your adventures and getting interest from brands, working with Vango and things like that? Has it been an enjoyable journey?
Yeah, absolutely has been. And, you know, when I first started my Instagram page, the reason that I wanted to do it was because I was always putting photos on Facebook where basically my family were bored, because it's like, look at this hill, look at this view that looks exactly like that view, but it's not really, because it's a different view. But no, and you know, to be honest, I had been so inspired by, you know, I follow like lots of different accounts that I had just been really, really inspired by. And I was like, you know, maybe I should start an account. Maybe I should just put all my photos, my adventure photos in there, because I've got a few. And I thought, you know, and it's actually going to be nice looking back just to have them all in one place. So I started putting them on, and I followed the people that I was inspired, you know, from their accounts and things. And yeah, people just started following my photos, my account, and then and that was lovely. You know, it's like, oh, where did that come from? And then that turned into meeting lots of really great friends, really close friends. Some of them I would call my best friends now, which is great. And I'd say for me, that's probably been what I've enjoyed the most so far about Instagram, is the community and the people and who I've met, and even people who I've not met. So yeah, we're getting married in May. And my friends, who'd very much call our friends now, Brian Evans, I follow him on Instagram. We've always followed each other. We have a chat. He's my wedding photographer now in May, because he's absolutely fantastic. And I've never actually met him in person. So we're obviously going to meet before the wedding as well. But yeah, just making those connections and things. And it has been lovely with, you know, when the brands came along. It wasn't initially the intention, but I would say that it has been good. And I know that there can be sometimes be an awful lot of negativity around about that. But in my experience has been a really, really positive one. Working with Salomon was absolutely fantastic. I was really surprised actually when I heard from them at first, and they said, do you want to join us as an ambassador? And I'm like, I don't think you got the right person. I was like, surely not. But then that opens up so many doors and so many opportunities. And then, you know, when that came to a finish, I decided to step away from that. You know, I think the team are absolutely fantastic. It just felt like it was time to do that. And that's when Vango got in touch. And it was funny because it was the day, because, you know, I put it up on my Instagram that I had been a fantastic relationship with Salomon, but you know, I've made the decision that it's come to an end now. And it was Alice at the time from Vango. She got in touch the same day. She's like, is it too soon to ask you to come on board with us? which is lovely. So, but her and I had a really good chat. And at that time I was like, oh, I'm not sure. You know, because it takes a lot of time as well, you know, to have those partnerships and things as well. You know, I don't know if people realize that as well, that it's, you know, it's not just, oh, I'm an ambassador. It's like that, you know, you want, so for me personally, you know, you've got to believe in the brand, what they stand for, what your relationship's going to be, you know, what it looks like, what that means for you, what it means for them. You know, it's not just about the free stuff or anything like that, not at all. And the fact that we had kind of suggested, well, what about supported adventures? So, you know, I knew that I wanted to do kind of these 6 adventures over what was supposed to be last year, but it's now kind of trickled into this year as well. And it seemed like a really good relationship, and you know, and it has been since. It's been fantastic, you know.
I've had the same journey, and I can relate with the way you talk about friends that you've made through social media. You know, people that I've never met are some of the most motivational people that I hope to meet, you know, but they're firm friends, and it's all through a blinking phone. It's all through a phone, or they'll listen to my podcast, they'll listen to guests, they'll get in touch, we'll then chat about what they're doing, what I'm doing. Well, then they know the name of the kids too. They get after it, family stuff that we do.
Yeah, that's right.
And all that sort of
you
stuff.
You guys are honestly, it's absolutely fantastic, the stuff that you do. And I know that like I followed you on Instagram, and it wasn't until we went cliff jumping, I was like, oh, hi.
Yeah. When we went with Stevie down at you Dunbar or North Berwick, Ocean Vertical, jumping off the rock.
It was Dunbar, Dunbar,
that
was like, oh, that was fantastic. It was so good.
He spoils me with adventures, that man. Honestly, he's the mate that I can you just phone him and say what's happening. And he's like, you're going to jump off some rocks, and I'm like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah,
simple as that.
It was through Instagram as well. So like I went paddleboarding with Ocean Vertical, and I met Stevie through that, and it was funny because it's like, they say it's 6 degrees of separation. I swear in Scotland it's like 2.
Yeah.
Because Stevie had worked with Ollie years ago, so they knew each other as well. So yeah, I keep in touch with Stevie a bit as well, and that's lovely. And then obviously meeting you through that as well, and various other people. So it's crazy. I love it. I think it's brilliant.
And look at us now with Vango. It's
I know
the relationship and the sustainability and the way that Vango, they're careful with their products. They put a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of thought into everything that they put out. And Abby and I and the family, we're delighted to be with them. They support us like you on our adventures and the things we're going to do in the future. So it's exciting times ahead for everyone involved. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's really, really good. Absolutely.
And so obviously a wedding is on the way, but what else have you got planned for this year?
Goodness, well, the start of the year didn't go as planned, unfortunately, thanks to COVID. So we unfortunately caught COVID as much as we've been, like everyone else, had been trying to avoid it for the last 2 years, and it meant that we missed Christmas with the family and all sorts. Anyway, we're still here, we're all healthy, which is absolutely fantastic, but I think I naively thought that I'd be back up on my feet within like a couple of weeks. It'd be absolutely fine. I caught tonsillitis at the same time that I had COVID, so I was really unwell. Unfortunately, it was just like, I've not been that unwell for a long, long time. And it really affected my energy levels. And I was that way where I'm like, I'm fine. I can totally climb a hill. And I went out for a walk. We've got woods out the back here, and I went out for a walk, and I thought, well, I'm going to build myself up by doing maybe the couch to 5K. So I thought I'll start that. And I was literally out the door within a few minutes. I was like, I'm going to have to go home. I just feel horrible. I just felt so tired. The fatigue was just unreal. So I was like, no, I'm not going to feel guilty, because I think I'm really guilty of kind of ignoring how I feel like if I'm really, really tired or whatever. I'm like, no, I really want to do this hill. I really want to do this adventure. But sometimes she's just going to be like, no, the hills are going to wait. You just need to get better. So over the last kind of couple of months or 8 weeks, I've really been trying to build myself back up and, build the family back up as well and things. And I'd say it's only in the last few weeks that I felt well enough to be able to do stuff. So like, that's why that paddleboard the other morning felt so good, because at the weekend there, we went up Suey Hill and I'm walking up it and I felt like I had energy. Don't get me wrong, I was absolutely knackered by the time I got home, but I was like, yes. That way you're like, yes, because it's like, you're like, be cool, Lorna. But I'm walking up the hill and I'm like, oh, it just feels so good to be out. And then the snow as well. And then on the Sunday, no, that was the Sunday. The Saturday we'd gone out on the bikes, and then on the Monday the paddleboard in the morning, which was great. So we had hoped to have done like tons of mountains by this point in February, but that wasn't so. But yeah, so this year, just get back out in the mountains as much as possible. I think for me, I really want to explore the area more and just find out what's on my doorstep and really get to know the lands and, what's here, which, I mean, even like Feshy Bridge, did you guys go down the river and do like the jumps of Feshy Bridge? I've not done that yet. So it's things like that. I know. So I just really want to get to know my neighbourhood and what's here, meet with friends again and go hiking. But I've got one adventure that I don't know about yet because hopefully forget abroad. So for the first 2 weeks in July, Jessica always goes to her dad's. That's kind of what's always happened the first 2 weeks of the summer holiday. So we were grabbing the chance to go on honeymoon for those 2 weeks while she's at her dad's. And Ollie's organising it, and I have no clue what we're doing. But it's not going to be lying on the beach for 2 weeks, put it that way. So he told me I need to be fit for going on honeymoon. And it's just over 2 weeks, and that's all I'm getting told. He asked me lots of yes and no questions, like flight or ferry, bus or ferry, road trip or flight. And I'm like, God, where are we going? My mum's like, you're going to end up staying in a volcano for a fortnight or hanging off a cliff. I'm like, that actually wouldn't surprise me.
Remind them to pack the water. Remind them to pack the water.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, your year ahead sounds fantastic, and obviously with the wedding in May, I wish you all the best with that. We'll probably catch up soon. I really do, because we'll be back up and having more, hopefully.
Yeah, and hopefully, well, we've got the family caravan down in North Berwick as well. So desperate to get back down. So when we're back down, we'll give you a shout and maybe get out in the water.
That'd be awesome. Fire pits, water, whatever. Let's do it.
Yes, okay. Exactly.
Lorna, this has been awesome. This is the first Vango podcast, the adventure show. The spirit of adventure, that's what we want to hear, and we got that from you. So thank you for joining me. And yeah, let's catch up soon.
Thanks so much. Cheers, Alan.
See ya.